My name is Katarina Engblom, usually called Kata, and I'm leading our partner organization at Microsoft in Finland. So my main goal is to ensure that all our partners are successful with us and grow as much as they would ever like together with Microsoft.
Nice. Nice to meet you all. It's been a long time since I've been anywhere with people, so this is interesting. I'm Fama Dumbuya. I work at Microsoft as well. I manage the Azure business. For those who might not be familiar, it's the public cloud service that Microsoft offers. And anything that has to do with Azure-related revenue, go-to-market, anything else, I own that. So if you want to talk, please come and pull me from the sleeve. Nice to meet you all.
Hey, good afternoon from my side as well. So my name is Mikko Kasanen. I work as a cloud solution architect at Microsoft. Been there for around 8 years in a couple different roles, but basically always a technical Azure role. My job, I actually work in Kata's team, but my job is to help partners build their solutions on top of cloud and, of course, leverage our marketplaces. So basically helping with things like that. And a bit about sustainability. My background actually with sustainability is I was actually doing my IT internship 2009 or something like that back in Laos. I was working for FAO, so Food and Agricultural Organization of United Nations. And there, the team that I was supporting was actually studying using edible insects in first Southeast Asia, and then you have probably seen some edible insects here in Finland as well. That's actually one of my colleagues who started a company here in Espoo farming crickets, so that's sort of my sustainability background.
Oh, cool. Fama, did you have any sustainability secrets that you wanted to share?
No, I didn't.
Oh.
That's nice. Yeah.
Okay. I can tell you that my mom still bugs me for having forced her to sort plastics in the 90s when there was some kind of recycling project in Helsinki. And she still says that there was so much. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of the point. Yeah, okay.
Great. Good start. So welcome and thank you for joining us. So, all right, so let's get into the topic of this discussion. So sustainability. Kata, can you open up a little bit what sustainability means for Microsoft?
I can. I'm happy to. It's a super central topic. And by the way, I wanted also to say here, because we understood that we are between you and cocktails, and we appreciate the situation. So if anybody wants to also ask questions or chip in, we're completely fine with that, to stay awake. But anyways, for Microsoft, sustainability is a very serious topic, and we have 3 main goals that we are going to achieve by 2030. That means that we have a few years, not many, to go. One is carbon negative. That means that we will not have any carbon emissions anymore, and we will remove the carbon that we have generated since we were founded. Water positive, so that means that we will produce more clean more water than we use. So it will be more clean water as a footprint from us. And the third one is zero waste, no waste at all. And these are the target, and I really like them because I think they're super ambitious, and I like the fact that we are completely serious about it. And one sort of mantra that we're saying is that we can't solve a problem that we cannot measure. So this means also that we have very clear goals for what we are doing, and we also measure progress. And also actually openly share progress, both in good and in bad, to hold ourselves accountable. And I wanted to give a couple of examples of the seriousness in this to make it more concrete. For example, when we build data centers, We usually also build a recycling center to make sure that we can do zero waste. And also, we are powering them with green energy, both green energy that we produce ourselves and that we buy. And with an engineering background, I'm super happy that we even go to the level of detail that we measure the distance from the green energy source to the data center. Because as everyone who studied electrons and such know that the electricity in the grid or the electrons are all pumped into the same network. And when you buy green energy, you cannot really know where those electrons were produced. However, if you're very close to a green energy source, you have a very, very good probability that actually you are consuming green energy. So we're going to that level of detail. And also, as partners of Arrow, I wanted to mention a concrete thing that we do in Finland, which is called Partner Pledge, where we invite all our partners to join to share insights, information, and also maybe solutions that can help us all become more sustainable. So you can say sustainability means a lot to us. We're very serious about it, and we are also very concrete in what we do.
Interesting. So, Fama,
Yeah.
can you open up, how does this, what Kata just said, relate to the new data center that was published that will be placed in Finland?
Sure. So how many of you, by the show of hands, knew that there's going to be a data center in Finland? Okay.
We are IT mainly, so.
That's good. So that's great. So when you think of a data center, there are a couple of things that you would typically consider when you build one. One is the location. So the first thing is, how close is it to your actual customers? So that's quite obvious. The second thing from a sustainability perspective is, where is it placed and how will it affect its surroundings? So that means the nature, that means the possibilities for people to move, etc. Those kind of things. The second thing is, how can we get, like Kata just stated, clean energy, produce power to the data center so that it can actually run in an efficient and sustainable way. And then the third and final thing is, what do you do with the excess heat? So when you think of a data center, every data center produces excess heat. That's just how it works because of the mechanics. And between different countries, you can see a lot of changes in how things work. So just bear with me, we'll get to the Finnish data center. But when the climate is very humid, you have different ways of cooling down a data center. When the climate is very hot, you again have different mechanics to cool down data centers. In Finland, we are in a fortunate place in that we have the district heating system that is already applied. And in this case, when we are fully up and running with the data center at full capacity, we expect that 40% of the heat that is pumped out of the data center will be used to power the citizens of Espoo. So this is, of course, great for anybody who lives in the municipality area of Espoo. This means Espoo, Kirkkonummi, and Kauniainen, because it will help with the fluctuation of prices with district heating. But it's also a sustainable way to not pump the excess heat to the ocean or somewhere else, but actually put it in good use and have a data center that can operate in a sustainable way. The other part that's not really on the sustainable side, but I'll mention it anyways, of course, that prices for a lot of customers will be very keen when you start operating and buying services. So by pumping the excess heat to the actual district heating system, you can reduce possibly the costs of selling the services to the local organizations and communities. So that again has an indirect effect in how people would choose, for example, Microsoft data centers instead of a competitor or somebody else to use these services. So yeah.
So you're basically getting into the heating business as well at the same time.
Yes, and I don't want to, this is not the world's, I've heard this a couple of times now, so this is not the world's most expensive district heating system, even though that seems to be the joke going around. but it actually functions as a data center. But I'm very happy that we're able to take the excess energy or the excess heat and actually use it for something that's positive.
And as always, we work through partners in Microsoft, so we are not getting into the heating business. We partner with Fortum, who are in that business.
Yes.
All right, cool. So, Mikko, Microsoft has quite openly shared your experiences regarding removing the carbon oxide. Is it carbon oxide, how you say it?
Well, generally greenhouse gases.
Greenhouse gases.
It's not only carbon dioxide that we're...
Yeah. So the challenges regarding that, so what type of things are there?
Well, Kata already said in the beginning about being open about reporting. We have this very open and very amazing report that comes out yearly, usually in January, called Sustainability Report. And it's a very nice report for anybody to read about what we are doing, what we are achieving, and what kind of things are we actually struggling with. So it is not, like Kata said, it is not about, like greenwashing. It's not about hiding carbon somewhere. It's actually about removing carbon that we're doing. And the sustainability report basically highlights the progress that we have had yearly in these 3 different topics or 4 different topics on the carbon and so on. And for example, in the report in 2021, which came this January, what did we achieve there was that we reduced these Scope 1 and Scope 2 emissions quite a bit, but our Scope 3 emissions actually grew. And that is something that everybody needs to be open about. That when our business grows, it implies that our emissions also grow. So we need to compensate that as well. And the point here is that we have these sort of, well, for us it's a nice setback in that sense, but the progress on sustainability is not linear. There are jumps and drops and so on, but we have to have the right direction. Such as, for example, this data center is going to be quite a big of like an impact locally on the environmental aspect. But the sustainability report is definitely something that everybody could take a look afterwards and have like a very open view on how we are tackling things.
I think you answered 2 of my questions, so also the next one, so I'm not going to present that.
What is the next question?
That was that, does Microsoft report these, the progress? Or isn't that the sustainability report that you were just mentioning?
Sustainability report is something that we do yearly, but there is another one called, well, we had this white paper, carbon removal white paper. So in 2020, Microsoft sent out a request for purchase for 189 different companies on carbon removal. Out of these 189 offers, basically, Microsoft selected 15. And we wrote this, or Microsoft wrote this carbon white paper on all the issues they found on actually purchasing carbon removal. And that is also a second very good, like a document for everybody to read on what did we learn out of that. Such as, for example, and this is part of also the sustainability report, that the market for carbon removal is still very young. There is still plenty of things to sort of improve there. There are a lot of these options that carry or store carbon basically from 0 to 100 years. So that's low term. Then we have solutions that store carbon from 100 to 1,000 years. That's only medium term, like carbon removal. And then we have long-term solutions that last from 1,000 years to 10,000 years. And there were 2 offers that really sparked my interest in that carbon removal white paper. First one was the Icelandic carbon removal factory. Maybe you have read about it, but basically taking carbon out of air, carbon dioxide and reducing the carbon out of it by pumping it basically to ground where it mineralizes and so on. The sustainability of that solution is 10,000 years. That's a technological solution. And then also one of the things that Microsoft purchased was actually a local thing here in Finland. There's this company called Carbofex, which has this biochar factory or whatever you call it. But it's a bit counterintuitive because in that they are basically burning wood to reduce carbon out of the air. And they're doing it by controlling the burn in a way that it burns in a controlled temperature, which forms basically biocharcoal. Charcoal is something that does not decompose. So when a short-term solution like a forest starts to decompose 40 to 100 years after it's been planted, that is releasing carbon back to air. But this solution basically binds it into a form of carbon. And while they are burning that, that also generates heat, which gets pumped into a network. So it's a very nice document. Give it a read.
Interesting. I think we had Esko Valtaja, those who have been here since the morning. So we had Esko Valtaja in the morning giving a keynote presentation. He spoke about these flying things that will gather and clean the air, gather the carbon or the emissions from the air and clean the air in the future, but actually it's already happening. So
it is happening, yeah, and I have a very bad solution.
We need to call Esko and say that he needs to fine-tune his pitch a bit.
We can also tell Esko that we can just cut the forest and dump it into Itämeri in the Baltic Sea because it's so low oxygen, so bad condition that nothing decomposes there, but I think that's not probably a good solution.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't say that, yeah. All right, moving forward, so the term sustainability cloud is something that Microsoft people occasionally mention, so yeah. Kata, maybe you can explain what does this mean?
Well, I'm actually going to go here to the real experts, but I would say that it's our attempt to help other companies as well understand and measure their footprint and sort of back to the site where we say that you know we can't change or manage what we can't measure, so we need to start somewhere with that.
Yeah.
Would you like to go into more details?
Sure. I promise I get back to the topic. I'll loop a bit and then I'll return like I did previously. So when you think about how we look at sustainability in general, there are basically three lenses that we look through when we consider the aspects. The first one is the operational stuff. So what can we as Microsoft do ourselves in order to be more sustainable? Those are very clear, like which kind of materials do we use in our products, which kind of solutions do we have with our data centers to make them more sustainable, etc., etc. The second layer is typically the transformational part, which talks about how do we enact with our partners and customers. And this Microsoft Cloud for Sustainability essentially ties into that. So it's a service that allows you to use the 3 R's, which are record, report, and react. So essentially, the first part is how do you get the data of how your company is actually doing things? And the service allows you to import data from various different topics or places, like Excel files, APIs, etc. The second part is how do you actually report on how you're doing? So how do you visualize what your goals are, how you're performing against them, where you would like to go, and how do you get ideas on what other companies similar to your industry, for example, are doing? And then the final part is how do you react? So how do you look at the way you are doing and what kind of options do you have to actually reduce your emissions or whatever you want to measure? So the Cloud for Sustainability is essentially a service that you can enroll into as an organization and use it to help you with your company to reduce your emissions or improve your sustainability in general.
All right, loud and clear. So how can we help? What should we do as a Microsoft partner or the other Microsoft partners in the house? So what should we do now and in the future?
Well, I was thinking about this, and actually I'm a little bit curious here. How many of you have sustainability goals?
Wow,
getting there, super. I was thinking that what can we do and what should we do and why is this important? A little bit all in one actually, and I thought that well I think that we all understand that the climate situation is a serious thing, And that's why we have, for example, the Sustainability Cloud, and that's why I encourage everybody to understand what is your footprint and start to measure, because as I said, we can't control what we can't measure. And this is not any kind of rocket science. And I think also this is an area where we are not the only ones who are very happy to share best practices and views. And I mean, reading that sustainability report, for example, will give you a really good overview of what it could contain. So that's the first thing I would urge everybody to understand what is your own footprint, and perhaps also set some goals and take some actions on that. I mean, on behalf of the planet and future generations. Then one thing when we start to think a little bit more about business is that most of our customers have sustainability goals. And probably to do good business, you would like to understand those, maybe help them achieve their goals, because we know that tech is something which is going to be very central for achieving these goals. And also, you know, to be harsh, I've heard that these kind of criteria are starting to emerge in RFPs. So if you're not able to answer sustainability questions about your own business, for example, it may be that you're not the winning one. So for business purposes, I think there is also a really important angle here. Then, of course, you know, I was a little bit touching, and we were touching about utilizing technology for solving sustainability problems. Technology is certainly going to be very critical. I think the government is also talking about electrifying, for example, the society. And here, once again, we invite all Microsoft partners in Finland to join our partner pledge, which is just an open, maybe like roundtable format where we join around the questions around sustainability is one of the themes, and where we want to use tech for good and also share best practices and stories. So that's one thing also to get inspired to join there. And then one also, what I have learned is that for younger generations, it is a very sort of self-evident topic, this theme about sustainability. So you know, younger generations are not debating whether there is a climate change or not. It's quite clear, and I've also seen that this is such a central value that I'm afraid that companies who are not taking sustainability seriously, meaning having a clear goal and plan for it that they can articulate, I think it's going to be really hard to recruit talent, especially the top ones, because people check so I would for really many reasons sort of raise the topic, and also invite everybody to join the discussion if you like.
Yeah, but let's not rely on the younger generation taking care of everything for us. So.
No, exactly. But you probably want to recruit a few of them.
Exactly. Anyway, so what kind of tools does Microsoft offer for monitoring, for managing, being sustainable?
Well, Fama can tell a little bit about those as well, but there's one thing that sort of relates to what Kata was talking about as well there. Do you employ any developers in your company? If you do, there is this amazing course at Microsoft Learn called The Principles of Sustainable Software Engineering. And it does not require any massive technological improvements or like buying any products or anything. It's a free course for any developer to sort of start thinking the way that they work and the way they design systems from the point of sustainability. It has these amazing principles that they will learn through that. It takes around 30 minutes to 45 minutes to complete this whole course, but it really, at least for me, there were so many different things that sort of gave me tools on how to develop better software, such as, for example, understanding that every time I reduce 1 gigabit of data from an application, on a global level that reduces about 2.3 kilowatts of energy per hour by just dropping 1 giga of data out of the stream. So that allows me, for example, to think that, am I sending important data over the like public internet and so on? Can I use different file formats to reduce the file sizes and so on? How to actually utilize your CPUs. That reduces cost, but also is good for environment, how to utilize it more effectively and so on. So we have these kind of things. And if you wish to talk about this later on, just pull me from the sleeve and I'll gladly talk more about this as well.
Thanks. Fama, anything you want to add? Any examples, for example?
Yeah, so just quickly, I think what was mentioned just now is very important, and it's on the software development side. The other topic is something that is such a buzzword and everybody keeps hearing about it. It's always, somebody has to bring it up. So it's AI and machine learning. But there are some concrete things that we've done in Finland as well. And one public reference that we're very proud of is the one that we did with Outokumpu for their factory in Tornio. So they already had a very good basis. So it's the largest metal manufacturing factory in Europe, and it was very sustainable before. But what we were able to do with adding technology and digitalization was to add 100 kilotons on top of what they were already producing from the same factory with the same tools and equipments by adding sensors, adding cameras, reading what is happening, reducing waste through making sure that the process itself is producing higher quality products, etc. So when we talk about sustainability and topics related to this, I think that some of the things will be things that you can just take into use, and we offer those services. A lot of our partners offer those services, but then some of them will be up for grabs for creation. A lot of it will be custom, a lot of it will be industry related, and that's also a huge opportunity from a sustainability perspective. But the one from Outokumpu is very interesting. If you have time, just go read on a high level what they did. And it's amazing to see that something like that is possible. And this is already, I think it started in 2019. So in the 3 years since then, we've taken leaps in what we can do with technology now.
Kata,
yeah, no, I just wanted to build upon these points. And sorry, we didn't rehearse this, so we can go on for hours. Probably, but one thing I
people are getting thirsty.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. No, I just wanted to quickly mention edge computing also here, a little bit to the points made earlier here, that we can build solutions and actually put the compute at the edge, meaning that you don't need to transport a lot of data to somewhere to a data center and do the compute and go back, but actually do the compute at the edge of the network. And hence, again, with Mikko's data calculation, do a lot of energy preservation if you want to look at that from the sustainability perspective. There are other benefits as well, but I think it's interesting that you can actually look at most any area and look at it through the sustainability lens. And I think that's actually sort of one of the solutions that we need to have, that we do all what we do, but also then remember that almost anything can be checked for sustainability, and it needs to be checked for sustainability.
Great. Edge computing, by the way, is something that we as Arrow can also help quite much. Any partners or all your customers. So good that you mentioned that. So I think we're heading to the end of the show, since the time is pretty much up. Anything you still want to add, or should we ask for the audience if there's any questions?
Audience, it would be super cool to have a question or two.
Super cool. Anyone?
Suomeksi myös käy.
Yeah, you can ask in Finnish as well if there's any questions. I think people are, I see they are quite thirsty.
Yeah.
It's been a long day. But I think it's been a good day since we started with, yeah, I know, is there a question, or is it about the Yeah, okay. Well, I will get to that. So I was just about to say that it's been quite an interesting day. I think we started with going back, looking back our history with Esko, a bit about the future, what kind of beings are we, humans, and that sort of quite philosophic stuff there, which was eye-opening, I would say. And then in between these last sessions, we've seen some examples of the technology that we can utilize to make life perhaps a bit better, more sustainable. And now we're come back to the basically where we started. So thank you all for the discussion. Unless there's anything you want to add, I would just like to thank also the audience back here and back at wherever you are behind the online part. So it's been a pleasure. As I mentioned in my opening speak, it's been 2.5 years since we held our last big event. So finally back here. Good to be back. I think we owe ourselves a round of applause before I introduce the next thing, which is just a short thing. But anyways, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.